Well, Beneil, front right here. Feels like we just did this just a couple months ago here, preparing for Renato. You know, he was in here earlier, and he said it didn't feel like one long camp preparing for you because he took a bit of a break, and it just felt like he picked up and just continued where he left off. So, I guess for you, considering you didn't get to fight in January, you didn't get that release. Has this felt like just one long fight camp preparing for Moicano?
Yeah, since it's the same guy and I'm, prepping for him and I didn't get to fight. Yeah, I would say this is feels like a longer camp, but that's okay. You make more adjustments, you study more tape, and you just try to get better as an athlete.
Well, like you said, there's not a whole lot of extra tape that you got from Moicano in that fight against Islam. So I guess do you change anything, or is it just, stay healthy and show up?
Actually, you'd be surprised. There was quite a bit in there. There was quite a lot in the beginning of the fights and the way they feint and the things they do. So it was actually really good for me.
So you thought, like, to us, it felt like Islam just kind of ran through him. To you, someone that trains MMA in this division, what did you take away from that fight?
Well, I mean, it was very competitive on the feet, right? And that had to do with the fact that they were kind of nullifying each other's feints. And when they did go, it almost seemed 50-50. Once it hit the ground at the 3-minute mark, then the fight totally changed. I agree with you, but overall, I thought there was a lot for me in that fight.
And he was in here earlier, and he was, typical, very brutally honest. Moicano said in January the narrative was, he wants to beat the shit out of this old man. Now he wants to kill you. But he was also very honest. He's like, Beneil's way better than me off his back, and I'm probably better than him on top. So we might cancel each other out. So I guess, how do you see this fight playing out?
I don't know. I think I'm better than him everywhere. I don't know if that's, yeah. I'm pretty sure wherever the grappling fights goes, I'll be fine.
And, Moicano was also in here, and he's saying, like, rankings don't matter in the UFC anymore. It's all, like, about timing and popularity and all this stuff. So I'm curious, what do you make of, that narrative of the sport? Because it seems like, I remember you never really wanted to do interviews for a while. You just want to let your fighting talk, but now we're here.
Yeah, I would say I think rankings still matter to some degree because they can be used against you, and then obviously, I think rankings still do matter. I think it's who you get, and but I think obviously personality seems to matter more, and how much you can get your name out there matters more. So I understand I have the best presence, whether it be in person or in social media, but ultimately, I got into this for fighting. I didn't get into this to be a personality.
Beneil, right over here. You've done a lot with charity. You won the Forrest Griffin Community Award last year. Are there any new projects you're working on?
We are doing something in Uganda, I believe. We're building a cafeteria, I think. So that's a project, and then Haiti's still going on. It's just different now because of the war or the civil war or the unrest, whatever they call it nowadays. We've had to change the ways we approach it.
That's awesome. And one more from me. Your opponent, Renato Moicano, he's very unpredictable on the mic. In the lead up to this fight, has he made you laugh any time? And what's the funniest thing you've seen from him?
Honestly, I haven't really looked that much, he says, but I do think it's funny when he calls me old, because I think we're the same age, or he might be like a couple of days older than me.
Well, I get the new story is only one old man can be left standing is his new one.
I like that, and I just feel bad it's not going to be him.
Hey, Beneil, over here. You faced Charles Oliveira yourself. How do you see him going up against Ilya Topuria?
I think Charles, I would say one of the biggest keys would be checking the leg kick. I think Ilya did a lot of damage in his last two fights with that leg kick. If he does that, I think the fight becomes really competitive. Because striking-wise, Charles is quite dangerous with the knees and the kicks and the tie clinch and all that. So I think if he checks the kick, the fight becomes very dangerous. I think if it goes to the ground, the fight's very dangerous. So I think it's going to be a lot more competitive than people think.
After a win against a guy like Moicano, where do you see yourself?
Man, I think I could be 1 or 2 fights away from the belt again, hopefully.
Thank you.
Here, Beneil. I asked Renato the same question because he was training with Mateus Gambrat, a former opponent of yours and ATT teammate of Renato, yes. And I wanted to ask you about the grappling because both of you are very good in jiu-jitsu, are very good in the scrambles. And I asked Renato if he thought that this was going to be like a striking war because both of you have very good level of jiu-jitsu, or if the importance will be in the wrestling. What do you think about that?
I'll take the fight wherever I want it. I think I'm the better grappler. I think I'm the better striker. So I'm gonna feel it out. Once I get in there, I'll feel it out, see what I want to do.
And obviously we know that you're focused on your next fight, and you said that you are like 2-3 fights away from a title shot maybe. Can you describe us what would it be for you, like your ideal roadmap to the title?
Somebody in the top 5 and then, title. That would be the ideal one. I don't really have specifically anybody in mind. Obviously there's a while that I was hoping to fight Dustin Poirier, but he's retiring, so I don't really have anybody specific in the top 5 that I don't want to fight. To be honest, I don't know why, but I'm not a big fan of fighting Max Holloway. I've been such a fan of him since, we got into the UFC. I think he was there before me, but I've been watching him for such a long time, and I never really expected that he would be in our division. So I don't really love that fight, but obviously if it presents itself, I'll be fighting him. But yeah, in an ideal world, after this fight, I get a top 5 opponent, and then I fight for the title.
Thank you, Beneil.
Just over here. What was your reaction to Islam moving up, and were you disappointed at all that you didn't get the opportunity to challenge him?
I was extremely disappointed. While I was on the win streak, and then also possibly in January, I thought it would. I was gonna get picked to fight him, and I was feeling really good come January, and it didn't happen. So, I mean, it was tough. We really had to work through that one.
And how do you think he does at welterweight and against JDM?
I think he's going to do well. I think it'll be more striking than grappling. I think JDM's defense seems to be really solid, and he's going to continue to work on it. And I think actually the easier path will be striking for Makhachev.
Thank you.